Hey there, Heather Boyd here, and today I'm going to show you how to make these beautiful whimsical flower greeting cards. The flowers were inspired by my friend Serena's Art Lovers Academy. I am going to link up her website and program in the description below this video. I am using Stuart Semple watercolors and 140-pound hot press paper. Now I've taped my paper down to a board so it won't buckle. Even though I'm not using a lot of paint, it's always a good idea to tape down your paper or use a watercolor block. I'm using a fine brush to do the outside of the petals and keeping these flowers very simple. They're very whimsical flowers. The designs are open-ended. You can do some practice pages before you do your cards on a craft quality watercolor paper, but these are really nice on the 140-pound paper. It's very smooth. I prefer the smooth watercolor paper, so that's the hot press. And now I'm going to go ahead and do a stem and some simple leaves on my flowers. I'm really free-forming this. I'm not drawing them out first. You will see we'll do the outlines after, but I'm keeping these flowers nice and simple, loose lines, and I'm improvising. I haven't really planned this out. You can try to do a nice composition. It's always nice to do an odd number, so I have 3 flowers there that are spaced in a nice composition. We will have a bit of a border on this page, but I'm not doing a background, so I'm not worried too much about that. So I did my leaves on there. And then I work on several cards at once. That way, if I have an area that needs to dry, I can just move on to my next one. So I'm doing a dragonfly, just going in with the purple and starting with the head and then doing the wings, and try not to get too much paint, but it's a fine balance of too much and not enough. You can always lift paint. You can clean your brush and dry it a little bit on a paper towel and then go in and suck up any extra paint if you find it too dark. Watercolor can be pretty forgiving, so you can lighten up areas if you like. You can do the wings lighter in the center to give it a little bit more depth. And then we're just going to go ahead and do the body. I'm doing the dragonfly all in one color, but you can use a variety of colors if you prefer. I'm just trying to keep these quite simple. So I'm going down and doing the tail, making the dots smaller as I get to the tip of the tail. So from there, we're just going to go ahead and do some fern-like leaves. So going again with a fine brush and a couple different shades of green. I mixed a couple shades on my palette. The Stuart Semple paints have a nice variety of different shades of the different colors. And I love this palette because the quality is great and he gives really fun names to his colors. They're all patented colors that he has developed. So we're going to go ahead and do the leaves, do the stem, and go ahead and do some more to fill in the paper. Also be sure to leave some open spaces on your paper. You want your drawing, your painting to be able to breathe, so we do need some open negative spaces as well. And what we're doing for the leaves is we kind of push the brush down and then lift as you go further out to create a tip. So kind of push down and lift. And then I decided to make it more fancy and I did some little spirals. So I mixed a bit of yellow with orange and using the fine tip of my brush, starting in the middle and working my way out to create the spirals. This just gives it a little more interest, a little more movement, a little more buzz in the picture. And place your spirals in a way that the composition works, and not filling in too much space either. You don't want to overdo it. So now I'm going to the next one, and I'm using some blue, and I'm forming a really cool whimsical flower. It starts with a kind of cylinder in the center, and I'm starting with a light blue just to form the shape of a cylinder, and then doing another one. So I will have 2 of these types of flowers. I'm keeping the bottom a little bit open because I want space to do other petals underneath. So I did a bit of a scalloped edge at the bottom of this cylinder. And I'm using 2 shades of blue. I have a lighter, more sky blue, and a darker, more rich Prussian blue to do the outside. So it gives it a little bit of depth. So now I'm doing some petals at the top, and we're just going to make a kind of teardrop shape, like an upside down teardrop. And we are going to place those petals above the cylinder. So just going around the outside and filling them in. Get more paint as you need it. And as I said, you can lift paint out of the center of the petal if you want more depth. So those are done, and now I'm going to go down below and do more of those types of petals underneath in a different color. And go ahead and do some on the other side. Trying to keep a little bit of separation in them, but you can lift up some color if they get too dark as well. So just making our little upside down teardrops, touching them up as you need, just lifting up a little bit of the paint there if it got too dark. And you can let it dry between areas if you like, or you can go ahead and do the stem. Even if the colors bleed together a little bit, it's not really a big deal. So now we're doing nice little swervy leaves, starting from the stem and working our way out. These flowers have a nice little movement to them. And now I decided to add some little purple flowers just to give it a little bit more interest, a little bit of texture. You just want these to be really fun. So they're just basically little circular forms, and I'm leaving the middle of them open. They got a little dark, so I lifted up some of the color with a paper towel, and then I'm doing some little stems for those flowers underneath. So now I'm adding a little bit of dark at the bottom of the cylinder with my fine brush, just to give it a little more interest. It's all in the details. And then I'm doing some little circles above the petals to make them even more fun. You really can improvise with these. Sky is the limit. There are no real rules. And like I said, you can practice some first if you like. So now I'm going to do a 4th one. We're going to do a blue flower. So I'm just starting with the petals. And I'm going to work my way around. Make sure your petals aren't all exactly the same size, and you want them to be nice and curved around, and then the ones towards the front are going to be a little more foreshortened to give it a depth. So now we're just going to add some little darker bits too to give it a little more depth and interest. And from there we are going to do some leaves, starting big in the middle and working our way out. So we do that little push and lift to make those leaves. You can add some darker to them as well. and do some larger, some smaller. We don't want them all to be the same. You want it to look natural. So we're going to go ahead now and do some grasses at the bottom, pulling up the paint to make our grass. And now I'm going to do some little yellow flowers. These ones are going to be a little bit smaller. You can Google search images of flowers, look up whimsical flowers to get some ideas for different shapes. And as you see, I'm not drawing them first. I'm just really improvising, just going with the flow. I'm going to do a few little yellow petals there. And we're going to do some smaller ones below. I'm going to do 3 flowers in the yellow color. It's always nice to do an odd number, gives it a nice balance. So we're basically doing them yellow. You can add shades of orange in there if you like to give it a little bit more depth. And now we are going to do some of those cute little magenta flowers. So we're basically making little circles with that pinkish paint, a decent amount of paint in there, using a fine brush. And then we are going to take the fine brush and pull the paint around to form the petals. So starting from the center and pulling the paint around to make the petals. And we're just going to go around doing 5 petals, and then we're making those lines inside the petals with the fine brush. These are really cute flowers, very simple. And now we are going to add the stems on the yellow flowers. Now they should be dry. We're just doing the little leaves at the bottom of each flower. Just little strokes. And then we're going to pull down those stems. Just bring them down to the bottom. And we're going to make some cute little leaves on the pink flowers. Just little roundish leaves. They're kind of oval shape. It's nice to have a different variety of styles of leaves in your picture. It just makes it more interesting. And just go in and do some little spiky leaves on the taller flowers. And if you need more grass, you can go in with different shades of green and make more grasses. Keep going until you like the composition. Now I'm going to add just a little bit of detail in the middle of the blue flower, a little bit of yellow. And from there, I decided to add a little bit more in this one. So I'm adding some little spiky yellow flowers, just so it's a little more interesting. I don't want to overdo it, but I just wanted to add a little bit of extra something. Putting some stems down there. And you'll see it will all come together when we do our outlines with the pen. Adding a couple more leaves on the bottom just to finish it off. From there, you let it dry, and you're going to remove the tape by pulling the tape away from your picture so it won't rip. Make sure you pull it away from the paper. And then we are going to go in with our micro pen and do some outlines. This just gives it a really cool, whimsical look. I'm using a medium size micro pen. It's the number 3. I'll link it up in the description below. And we're going to go ahead and do our outlines all over our picture. I'll do the same on the other ones. And then this one, I ended up adding some lines inside the cylinder as well, just to make it look a little bit more interesting. So do any details that you like until you're happy with your pictures. So these are how they look with the outlines with the pen. And then I'm going to make some greeting cards. So I have this pack of greeting cards from Michaels, and I matched them up with the colors that I wanted and printed out my labels to go on the back. I'm just using some hot glue. You can use two-sided artist quality archival tape, but sometimes I just use the hot glue. It's quick, it sticks very well. Just a teeny amount is all you need to attach it. And then I'll take my label with my business name or artist name and stick that on the back. Be sure to sign your work, and then we have the envelope to go with it. So here are the finished greeting cards. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell to be notified for new art tutorials and also my 10-day art challenges.